Hello, welcome to what I call pre-spring West Virginia urban weather. Just now kind of preparing the garden here, trying to get soil and everything kind of prepared before we actually do the planting. It's a little too cold out here right now. So this is what we're going to be planting into a raised garden box. And what I've already done is I've already added some compost from the winter with some leaves and cut up grass, which we call chop and drop. And I've added the peat moss. Peat moss just kind of helps to separate some of the clumps of soil that we have in here. And I'm going to be adding vermiculite, which can help aerate the soil, as well as some perlite. The vermiculite and perlite, it's made from volcanic, actually it's old volcanic rock and ash, and really has no nutritional value at all, other than it helps to keep the soil aerated. One misconception is that the vermiculite and the perlite will improve clay soil, which it doesn't. You need composted material for that, but this is a raised garden, so we treat this as though it's a potted plant. So what we're doing now, we're just some of this, and I put a nice little sprinkling over it. This is also good for your seedlings and to keeping those dirty, nasty gnats from getting into your soil. The gnats can't really lay their eggs through this. Put about an 1/8 inch thick, and that works real well at keeping the bug population down. All right, the next thing we're going to add here is our perlite, and perlite is made from the basically same stuff that the vermiculite is. It is a little coarser, doesn't hold as much water as the vermiculite, so it is different. Again, this helps to aerate the roots and plants. Not as effective in keeping the gnats out, but it certainly helps to aerate the plants, and actually can be a replacement for putting rocks to help drain or sand, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle this all along the top, and there's different grades of perlite. You can get a fine and medium and coarse. This is a little mixture between the medium and does have some fine with it. But again, it comes in a nice big old bag, and that really helps in my use, because we're going to use quite a bit of that, and I use a lot for my seedlings to help to aerate those. And you'll see at your local garden shop that a lot of the plants do have this perlite along with it. So we're going to put all this in, and we'll be back with preparing your garden bed for planting. All right, now we're finalizing our preparation for our garden bed. The last thing we're going to add, or rather the last two things we're going to add, are blood meal and bone meal. Now, blood meal is pure nitrogen. So it's a 12-0-0 mixture, and if you're not familiar with the nomenclature there, the 12-0-0, the order of which it is nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium. So this is just basically pure nitrogen. And I add a little bit of this nitrogen or blood meal just to help to break down some of the organic material, so it helps with the composting. And the last little bit that I'm going to add here is the bone meal. And the bone meal is a 2-14-0 mixture, which means it has 2% nitrogen, 14% phosphate and calcium, and no potassium. So we're going to spread that, and the purpose of the bone meal is for the prevention of what we call blossom end rot. And what blossom end rot is just a deficiency in calcium. So it's very important that your plants receive calcium, and that can occur when we get very wet months or days throughout the summer. So just best thing is just to keep your watering consistent. And again, I add this calcium early on because it dissolves very slowly over time. It's not something that you can just mix up and add and expect it to work right away. So what I do is I apply it on the top, and then we will mix that lightly into the soil, and then as time goes on, that will dissolve and then get to the deeper roots and provide the necessary phosphate and calcium that the plants need. So we'll end up mixing all of that in. And as you can see, the soil is quite easy to move at this point. Okay, and so that completes our preparation for your garden bed, and happy gardening from